We're back in Redfall, this time on the Xbox Series S. And I just can't seem to escape this game. So be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So when we look here, you might be like, oh, what's going on with the visuals and stuff like that. So before, Redfall on the Series S was 1440p at 30 FPS. And we now have the option to go to video, and I know, shockingly, switch to performance mode. And bam, 60 FPS. What? You know what I'm talking about, Ribbon? Whoa! I know. High frame rate action. And yeah, it actually is quite smooth. And you know what? It actually does seem to be keeping pretty close to that 1440p. Maybe a little bit more dipping. So what they're using is AMD FSR 2.1, and that's like a super fidelity. It's a resolution scaling technology from AMD, and it's been applied to the game, which will help keep frame rates high and resolutions high as well, using scaling technology. So for the Series S version, this one wasn't like the best at launch. Same with, well, the Series X version as well. And while the Series X version seems to more flawlessly handle geometry and whatnot, this one definitely does still have the pop-in to a degree. Like, it's better, and also the assassinations or stealth attacks now a thing, in case you were wondering. But it also has the benefit, or sorry, not the benefit of it. It still has like some texture loading, if that makes sense. Like in the distance, some textures take a little bit longer to load. You particularly see that with like trees. So, well, maybe it's not even loading. It's more of like a proximity thing. So you see that tree that I'm kind of looking at. I don't know how well this shows up on YouTube, but it's like it's a blob. Same with the tree beside it. But when I zoom in, it has depth, but like when I'm zoomed out, there's no depth to it. And again, I don't know how well that shows on YouTube. Now, I guess if you're on the Series S, this is actually going to be one of the better looking games and one of the better performing games, technically, if it's actually giving us, you know, close to that 1440p level at 60 FPS using the, you know, the scaling tech. So, you know, from that perspective, this is actually kind of strangely impressive now for the Series S, which is not something I really expected, but yeah, here we are. It's kind of fascinating. Now, you know, like, again, the issues of this game really were deeper than just 60 FPS. You know, I said that. You can go check out my original review of the game, which I think is hilarious, by the way. But you can check that out, and you can see that even then I was like, you know, this game, there's deeper issues than just frame rate. But like, if you've been waiting, you know, for performance to get fixed, you've been waiting for bugs to get fixed, you've been waiting for them to add things like a more lively open world, you know, they've done that. That's been done now. It's here. So there's also HDR support, online co-op up to 4, which is kind of the way you should be playing this cooperatively. There's Dolby Atmos support. And yeah, so like it's got, you know, content stuff. It's got things that have been added. So from that perspective, it is, you know, more impressive. I'd say, and you know, we kind of went from the Series X to this one. Upgrading my thoughts on it from awful to meh, you know, like, it's a decently lengthy story, you know, something like over 10 hours, and, you know, there's stuff to do, and there's side missions. The side missions aren't crazy detailed, but, you know, and with this being FSR, there is a little bit of the FSR kind of shimmering and stuff in effect, but, you know, like I said, it's actually a much better experience. You know, it's not the craziest sort of thing in the world. It's not necessarily fully mind-blowing, but as a bit of a vampire kind of killing game and shooting stuff, it's not bad now. Enemies kind of react a little bit to what you're doing. If you're wondering why I'm dying really fast, it's New Game Plus. This game has a really stupid mechanic where you get shoved into New Game Plus, even if you don't really want to, which is lovely. And you know, it does load decently quick too, which is nice. And yeah, it's kind of like the status of where it should have launched with this level of polish to it. You know, I sat there and I talked about the Series X version. Now I'm just talking about the Series S version. And it's just, it's a funny concept, because it's sort of like a game that honestly just wanted to kind of forget about, because it was not a good time. You know what I mean? Like, it was definitely something to forget. For sure. But if you've been waiting, for whatever reason, to give the game a whirl, you know, if you're on the Series S, even if you're maybe checking out the Series X version as well, this is the time to kind of go and do that. Honestly, this is the moment where it's, you know, performant with a higher frame rate, which is nice. And you know, it's not, I don't know, it's pretty smooth. It's not necessarily like perfectly smooth. There's some bits here or there, but you know, enemies aren't floating in the air randomly anymore. We'll always miss Jeff. If you do see Jeff out there, floating vampire, you know, just be sure to send a photo in or something, because you know, we miss Jeff. But like, yeah, you know, the game is honestly in a much better place. Did they listen to feedback and fix things up? I guess maybe so. It kind of seems like that is the case, right? But like, it was really kind of humorous almost. Just like the radio silence that was present for so, you know, kind of long on this one. It's utterly fascinating that, oh, so we're gonna get to run into the store. It's utterly fascinating that we're here actually doing this update, because I was gonna just kind of ignore it, but apparently people are really excited about this sort of thing. So I guess I could give you some further context. Open world, kind of in concept similar to, say, Borderlands, but not really. But you know, that's kind of open world shooting. There's a couple of areas. There's this town. Again, I'm in New Game Plus, so everything is no longer unlocked. And then you go to another area, which is even crazier and more annoying, and there's different like bosses, and yeah. So like they've livened up the environment. But beforehand, you would be walking down the streets and it was like a ghost town. There'd be like, you know, one vampire and it would be stuck in the air and you couldn't do anything with it, and it would just be like, okay, this is pointless. And you know, now there's stuff going on. Is there really exciting stuff going on? I don't know. I mean, there's side missions and things you can do, and you know, there's stuff happening. Yeah, that's, again, just kind of really thinking about this. You know, I think the biggest issue is they've crafted like a pretty cool open world. You know what I mean? Like this environment, this design, it's kind of cool. Like it's a neat area. It's just they didn't really do anything with it, which was weird. You know, and then to have such a rough launch and then not really, you know, sort of support it with more content and stuff was just really the weirdest of choices. I don't know. I'll always be perplexed by this one, because it really should have been like a big showcase of the new attitude. Man, this game's so annoying. The New Game Plus is so annoying. Like, I didn't even want to do this. I just wanted to finish the game and be done with it, but they're forcing it as new already. You don't even get a choice. What kind of New Game Plus does that? Anyways, doesn't matter. And then we have to spawn all the way over here. Ugh, jeez. It's still, like, not great, and I just want to kind of, like, yeah, just want to forget about this one. But yeah, it's missed potential. To me, that is the biggest thing with this game, is the potential for them to have crafted something really genuinely intriguing was there, you know. It was there. It was definitely cool, you know. You had this place and there's these different buildings you can go into, and it's just like what happened? Like what were they working on? Because you got to remember too, like this game was delayed like a whole year from when it was supposed to come out. And apparently there was maybe some internal delays too or something as well over time, but you never get concrete info on that sort of stuff. But like, you know, it had a whole extra year. And it is still just an absolute mess. So you're still seeing the poppin'. The Series X version definitely ended up a little better on stuff, but this isn't bad. Like this, you know, I don't think that kind of stuff is going to impact your experience too negatively. Whatever the case, it's like this is a big improvement over what we've had before. It's much more playable now. And I think that's a good thing, right? Like the fact that they actually did come back and update this. So, you know, the devs definitely should get applauded for doing that. You know, because I kind of thought this one was going to be left alone and we weren't going to have to think about it ever again. But, you know, we're here. We're doing this. We're taking a look at it. That's fine. You know, that's good. Developers should support their games. Should make sure they turn out decent, you know. But the other thing is like the launch of this was a nightmare, and I just really, it's weird, right? Like it's so bizarre. This whole situation around this game, like it is just one of the weirdest things, because I really went in kind of, you know, with the highest of like, I don't know, expectations, but I assumed this was gonna be,
that's all of them,
you know, like a really great sort of looter shooter sort of thing for the Xbox platform. I was gung ho on this. You can go back to like some older streams and you can see that I was, you know, just kind of like hyping it up a little bit. I was like, you know, Arkane, and you know, I think there's a lot of potential here. And then like, you know, obviously this is what it is, but like, yeah, just disappointing. You know, but it's better now, right? Like, it is better. It's not just completely dead. Like, beforehand, you could probably walk along here, as I was saying earlier, just like one person would be there. Now there's actually some enemies, and it's like, are the enemies smart? It's like, not really. Like, if we weren't on New Game Plus right now, I would just be like, you know, basically insta-killing like everything almost, and yeah, they didn't move around very much. As I said, the stream I did for this game, covering it at launch, is it's really entertaining, honestly, some bits of it. I mean, for me it was insanely frustrating and just the darkest of times, but like, I definitely see how it would be entertaining for some folks to take a look at, for sure. But that's the thing, is there was so many, like, you know, kind of like problems and stuff. Like this is a problem game, is the biggest thing, is like, yeah, lots and lots of issues. But hey, now it's kind of performant while still looking good. That was another thing too, is I was really worried that the Series S version was just going to get like shafted. Actually going back to the Series X version, assuming you skip that to watch this one, like, you know, for your preferred platform, Series S, you know, you're probably sitting there wondering, and it's like, oh, you know, what's it going to be like? For Series X, I was like, oh, I have no idea how much we're going to have to sacrifice, but I was like, this looks pretty good. And then I'm here on Series S, and I'm like, this looks pretty good. And it's actually, like, as I said, kind of performant. You know, that's the big surprise, is actually having, you know, frame rate plus decent visuals. And for the Series S, where it's a mixed gamble on what you kind of get for quality, for the most part, this is pretty nice looking. This is actually one of the better looking Series S games, I think, maybe, perhaps. Which is a bit of a surprise for me. Basswood Safe House Key. Oh yeah, don't you need to, like, can't remember how that works. I think you're supposed to get it. Wow, these guys are like, yeah, insta-killing me. That's so annoying. Don't know how they kill me so fast. It's like as if I'm under-leveled for this or something. Who's to say? But yeah, now you can go do this side stuff. Like, well, the side stuff's not very exciting. That's a funny thing. If I want to talk about the story, it's sort of like a lot of this is just really obnoxiously annoying. So you do the story, a couple bosses and stuff, and you go to different places doing different missions. But like some of the stuff requires you to do all this like grinding for certain like skulls, and you have to do all these like boring side missions. A lot of weird stuff in this, honestly. A lot of weird stuff. But hey, now it's fluid. Ho ho! I like, yeah. I love the attitude of some folks being like, oh, this completely makes it more playable and stuff, and it's like it does. It really does actually make it a lot more playable. For those who've been holding out, but for those that have already like played through the game, it's not like I'm not gonna like replay this just because now like the frame rate is better. Although I think it would have made replayability from a long-term perspective a lot better. I don't know, maybe I'll go on like a Redfall kick in like several years and now I'll be like, oh, well, that's not too bad. I don't see this really moving the needle in like getting people to really check this out. Like it's sort of just, I don't know, some sort of fodder for the system at this point. Which is a shame because there was a lot of development time and an effort and stuff probably put into this game, and then I don't know what the issue was. Lack of direction, lack of design, lack of focus. It's just like, it's such a problem game in so many ways, and it doesn't even make sense why. Looter shooter with vampires in like a quaint town where everything goes bad. Like, how hard is that to do? Like, shouldn't really be a difficult concept to execute on. Even the foundations are here, the world, the look of it, the design, like the visual aesthetic, like that's all there. I just really don't get what the problem was in getting this out the door. But I think this would have fared a lot better releasing as is. I think it's actually a bit shameful that they released the game in the state they did, because I think we would have all been a lot kinder. Like, I would have been a lot kinder to the game if it was like this. Because even looking at it, like, we now have like stealth executions and stuff, and you're like, yeah, that's a pretty basic sort of thing to have in this kind of game where you're supposed to like, not kind of be fully visible all the time. You know what I mean? Like, there's elements of you're supposed to actually, stealthily play some of this game. It's in concept supposed to be like that. They even act like it's supposed to be, but if they don't give you basic stealth mechanics, like, how are you supposed to do that? I commented on that a lot, actually, when I was doing my review of the game. Was kind of like, there's areas where you very clearly have options to play with stealth, but the gameplay was never designed to make you actually think about doing stealth, and that in itself is just like the dumbest of ideas. Like, over here at this big building, I remember doing this, the shipyard. There's like a side area where you could like sneak in and go through vents, but like the gameplay was not designed or conceptualized in regards to rewarding you for playing with any level of stealth or care or anything like that, which defeats the purpose of a stealth game, even having stealth mechanics, if you don't get to play stealthily. Like, the gameplay doesn't reward stealth mechanics or anything. It's just easier and quicker to just shoot things, and there's no thought of like evolving that concept at all. It's just this game just feels so weird in like the worst of ways. And I'm sure the developers may be frustrated, those putting the game out are frustrated, but like, you gotta have a good sense of direction and focus. Otherwise, you release a nightmare. And the game should be a nightmare in the sense of like, ooh, atmosphere is a nightmare, not like playing it is. Ugh. Glad to finally wrap up on this, though.